I was standing by the casket, my hand on the cold wood, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. The pastor was mid-sentence, something about resting peacefully, but I barely heard him. I didn't want to be there. Who the hell wants to bury their mom? But I had to. She raised me on her own after my dad disappeared when I was 6. Worked doubles, skipped vacations, gave everything so I wouldn't end up like him. And now I was standing in the dirt, in my only black suit, barely holding it together. The buzz came again. I finally pulled the phone out, hoping it was something important. Maybe Dean checking in, or someone from work. Instead, it was Leah. "Hey babe, took Max to a boarding stable. I couldn't deal with the smell anymore. Hope that's okay." I didn't move, just stared at the screen, my fingers going numb in the October wind. Max, my therapy horse, not just some smelly animal. The one thing that got me out of bed after the scaffolding collapse 2 years ago. The panic attacks, the nightmares, the cold sweats. I could barely talk to people, but I could be around him. He understood. He saved my damn life. I didn't text her back. I didn't even blink. I shoved the phone deep in my coat and kept my mouth shut. My cousin Daniel leaned toward me. "You good, man?" I nodded without looking at him. After the burial, everybody started heading to the community center for the memorial dinner. Casseroles, awkward hugs, people pretending they knew her like I did. I wasn't in the mood. I told Daniel I had to handle something and got in my truck. Leah mentioned the stable name in a previous rant. Whispering Pines, 20 minutes out of town. I didn't even stop for gas. By the time I got there, the sun was starting to dip. I walked in through the main barn and called out. A staff member came over, gave me a weird look when I asked about Max. "The aggressive gelding?" "Yeah." "He's in stall 7. Aggressive?" My gut tightened. I found him in a dark corner stall, head down, not eating, eyes wide. He looked terrified. I put my hand on his neck. He flinched, then leaned into me. His ribs were twitching like he'd been pacing or spinning in circles. Another worker came over. "Are you the one who abandoned him for deployment?" My blood boiled. "What the hell are you talking about?" She held up the intake sheet. It had Leah's handwriting all over it. "Owner surrender. Marked him aggressive. Said you were overseas and didn't want the liability. They were prepping him for auction. Auction. Like he was junk." I turned to the woman. "Where's the paperwork? I'm taking him back. Right now." I slapped the intake form on the counter hard enough to make the front desk girl flinch. "Read that again," I said. "Now read this." I pulled Max's therapy certification out of my glove box folder. I always kept a copy in the truck and laid it beside the form Leah signed. Same horse, different owners. "Leah's not listed anywhere," I said, tapping the paper. "She's not his handler, not his legal owner, not on the USDA registry. She lied to you." The girl's hands trembled. She was maybe 19, 20, some kind of student worker. She called her manager over. A woman in her 40s with stiff posture and tight lips. "You're saying this is your therapy horse?" the manager asked. "Yes, registered, certified. Under federal law, he's medical equipment. Protected." She scanned the documents, expression going flat when she got to the signature line. "This is fraud," she muttered. "Exactly," I said. "So now you're either complicit in theft, or you help me walk him out of here." She sighed, nodded, and waved to the stable hand. The younger girl looked like she was about to cry. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "He wasn't eating. We didn't know what to do." I didn't say anything, just led Max out slow, letting him feel the air. He snorted and tossed his head, but his ears were up now, eyes calmer. His feet were dragging less. I opened the trailer, tossed in some hay from his usual stash, and he walked in on his own. On the way back, I called Dean. "Can you meet me at the house in an hour?" I asked. "Bring the big kit." "Leah again?" he said. "Yeah." She crossed the damn line. Dean was there before I was, parked by the barn with his toolbox open and sleeves rolled up. He didn't ask questions, just got to work on the front door. While he worked, I boxed her crap. 10 months ago, she moved in saying she just needed a break from her roommate. somehow that turned into her leaving shoes in every room, painting one wall sage green, and acting like the place was hers. She wasn't on the lease, never paid rent. I checked. My lease was crystal clear. Max was allowed due to medical accommodations, and no one could remove him without my written consent. By 6 o'clock, every lock was changed. Her makeup drawer, fake plants, and for healing crystals were in boxes by the porch. I taped an eviction notice to the door with a printed copy of the stable paperwork underneath it. Then I drove straight to the sheriff's station and filed a report. Unauthorized surrender of protected medical equipment. The deputy behind the desk didn't even blink. "People are insane," he muttered, typing. Back home, Max was calm. Still tired, but eating. I brushed him down and stayed in the stall for a while, just breathing. My boots were sunk in hay and dust. It was the first time all day I wasn't holding back a scream. I was in bed, finally half passed out, when headlights hit the bedroom window. It was close to 10. I peeked through the curtain. Leah, her SUV crooked in the driveway. She stumbled out holding a purse and a bottle of rose, heels clicking uneven on the gravel. I turned the porch light on. She tried the doorknob. Locked. Tried again. Nothing. Then she noticed the eviction notice and bent to read it, swaying a little. "What the hell is this?" she slurred, raising her voice. I opened the front door just a crack, kept the security chain on. "You surrendered my therapy horse behind my back. During my mother's funeral. Oh my God. Are you seriously?" She waved the bottle at me. "Are you seriously mad about that?" She jiggled the handle again. "Unlock the damn door." "No," I said. "You're done here." Her face twisted. She was too drunk to fake being sweet. "You're really choosing a barn animal over your girlfriend?" "He's family," I said, and shut the door in her face. She screamed. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed a beer, and waited by the window. 5 minutes later, she finally got the message. Stomped back to her car, slammed the door, and peeled out of the driveway. Her drunk little tantrum was pathetic. And that look on her face when she realized I'd locked her out? Worth every damn second. The banging started before the sun even came up. I glanced at the clock. 6:02. Max let out a loud snort from the barn out back. I heard the thud of his hooves shifting fast. He only did that when something rattled him. The pounding kept going. Fist against wood, over and over like she was trying to break it down. I swung my legs out of bed, slipped on my boots, and walked straight to the door. I already knew who it was. Leah. I clicked the porch light on and cracked the front door. Security chain still latched. She looked like hell. Still in yesterday's eyeliner, hair a matted mess. No shoes, just socks and rage. "You lost your damn mind?" I asked. "You locked me out. I live here," she shouted. "No, you squatted here. For 10 months. You're not on the lease. You don't pay bills. You don't own anything in this house that doesn't come from Target clearance." She shoved the door hard. The chain held. I didn't flinch. "You tried to dump my therapy animal during my mom's funeral," I said, voice low but firm. She scoffed. "It's just a horse, Derek. You care more about that muddy beast than me." I held up the eviction notice through the crack. She stared at it like it was in another language. "You're insane," she spat. "You can't just throw me out." I didn't move. "You lied. You forged a surrender form. You told people I was abandoning Max because of deployment. I haven't worn a damn uniform in 9 years. You could have gotten him killed." Her face twisted. Then she screamed and slammed both palms into the door. "I'm calling the cops." "Good," I said. "Let's go ahead and do that." She stormed off the porch, phone in hand, yelling something to 911 about being locked out of her home by a violent ex. I stepped out onto the porch and waited. Max was still pacing in the barn. I whistled once. He neighed, loud and nervous. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up, then a second one. 2 deputies stepped out, hands resting near their belts. They looked from her to me and back again. "I'm the leaseholder," I said, handing one the papers. "This is the text she sent while I was at my mother's funeral." This is Max's Federal Therapy Animal Certification. And here's the stable paperwork with her name, not mine, where she tried to surrender him as aggressive. That's felony-level stuff. The deputy scanned everything. The other one asked her name, and when she said it, his eyes narrowed like he recognized it. "She's not on the lease?" he asked me again. "Nope. No mail in her name. No bills. No tenancy agreement. Nothing." He turned to her. "Ma'am, this is theft of medical equipment. That horse has federal protection. You forged ownership and surrendered him under false pretenses." Her mouth dropped open. "You're kidding me." He shook his head. "No, ma'am. I'm not." "You're taking his side?" she snapped. "We're taking the law's side," the deputy said, firm. The first one stepped closer. "You need to leave the property. Now, if you have belongings, you can schedule a civil standby later. But if you don't go voluntarily, we can escort you." Leah looked at me, eyes wide and wild, like she thought I'd suddenly take her side. I didn't blink. "You brought this on yourself," I said. She screamed again. Sharp, broken, like a toddler not getting her way, and then finally turned around and stomped barefoot down the driveway. One deputy stayed behind for a minute. "You want to press charges for the medical equipment angle?" "I already filed the report last night," I said. He nodded. "Smart. This one's gonna be a problem." "No kidding." Max snorted again in the distance. I walked down to the barn, opened the stall door, and rubbed his neck. He leaned into me, shaky but calm. "She's gone, bud," I said. "She's not coming back." He exhaled, deep and heavy. Neither was I. I was brushing Max down in the barn later that afternoon when I saw the silver Buick pull up near the edge of the driveway. Didn't recognize it at first. Then I saw her dad step out. Khakis, polo shirt, phone clipped to his belt like it was still 2008. Her mom stayed in the passenger seat, arms crossed, face like stone. He walked slow, hands in his pockets, looking at the ground more than at me. Max shifted behind me, ears twitching. "I'm not here to start anything," he said. "Just wanted to talk." I didn't say a word, just kept brushing Max. She's upset," he said. "Whole thing's gotten out of hand." I finally looked up. She forged a surrender form, said I was abandoning my therapy horse while I was burying my mother. "That's not out of hand. That's calculated." He sighed. "She was stressed. Allergies been awful this year. She's always had a hard time around animals." "She knew what Max meant to me," I said. "She didn't sneeze once the whole time she lived here." He nodded like he didn't really want to agree but couldn't argue either. I walked over to the feed table, pulled out the stable form, and held it out to him. "Read it." He glanced over it, eyes pausing at the words aggressive animal, owner surrender. Then he saw her signature at the bottom. "She lied," I said. "He could have been gone forever. Shipped off to God knows where, maybe put down, and for what? Because she didn't want to smell hay?" Her dad didn't speak right away. He just stared at the paper like it weighed more than it should have. After a few long seconds, he folded it and handed it back. "She did something like this before," he said quietly. "With a dog. A rescue I brought home. That caught me off guard. She told me it ran away," he went on. "Said she left the gate open. Later I found out she took it to the shelter. Marked it aggressive so they wouldn't call us. I should have stopped it back then." I didn't respond. Nothing I could say would make him feel worse than he already looked. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm sorry you had to deal with this. I really am." "Yeah," I said. "Me too." He gave Max one last look, then turned and walked back to the car. His wife never got out, just glared at me through the windshield like I was the problem. They pulled away without another word. I stood in the barn door and watched them disappear down the gravel road. Max bumped my shoulder with his nose like he knew I needed grounding. I reached up and scratched his forehead. "They're not worth your stress, buddy." He let out a soft snort and we went back inside. It started that evening. I just finished evening feed with Max, and my phone buzzed in my pocket. 3 notifications back to back. All from Facebook. Leah had posted, Some people will throw you out just for being honest about your triggers. I needed a clean space to heal and was called abusive for it. I loved that horse, but I couldn't breathe around him. A second one. Being punished for allergies is wild. Guess some men love control more than women. Then the Instagram story, crying selfie, zoomed in on her red eyes with the caption, 10 months gone, thrown away like garbage, just for needing to breathe. I closed the app and laughed once, sharp and bitter. She was already spinning it. Within the hour, my inbox lit up. A couple people, mutual friends mostly, DM'd me asking what happened. One message stood out. Bro, did you really kick her out because of hay dust? That's brutal. I didn't argue. I posted receipts. I started with the stable form, owner surrender, aggressive animal, her signature clear as day. Then I added a screenshot of her text from the funeral. Then Max's official certification paperwork, dated and stamped. No caption, just facts. I hit post and went to bed. By morning, everything had flipped. A mutual friend named Jenna shared my post and added, "Wow, I believed Leah until I saw this. What she did is disgusting." Another commented, "I know someone who works at that stable. She lied. They almost auctioned his therapy horse because of her." The thread blew up. Her own circle started turning on her one by one. I didn't respond to comments. Didn't need to. Late that afternoon, I got a message from a local animal rescue org, kind of a grassroots group with a Facebook page and newsletter. "We saw your post. Would you mind if we shared Max's story? This kind of thing can't happen again." I said yes. Gave them permission, sent a few more photos of Max before and after. They posted it that night. Meet Max. He's not just a horse, he's a certified therapy animal. And last week, he was almost lost forever due to one person's selfish actions. This is what emotional neglect looks like. The town lit up. Shares rolled in. Comments flooded the post. Unbelievable. Who does that to a therapy animal? She should be charged. Where's the accountability for people like this? Someone even found a clip of Leah bragging last year about how easy it is to manipulate soft-hearted guys, and dropped it in the replies. By the next morning, Leah deleted her original posts. But it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. She'd underestimated the internet and Max. People connected with him. That soft-eyed, chestnut-colored gelding in the picture, standing next to me with a rope loosely in my hand, calm and gentle. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like the victim. And now everyone knew the truth. The next call came around 10 a.m. the following day. I was tossing fresh shavings in Max's stall when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. "Derek? This is Russ, your landlord." I wiped my hands on my jeans. "Yeah, hey. Everything okay?" He cleared his throat. "Someone filed a complaint about an unsafe animal on the property. I didn't even need to ask who. She said there was a dangerous horse being kept illegally," he added, clearly uncomfortable. "County flagged it for inspection." My jaw clenched. "Max is federally certified. I have all the documentation." "Yeah, I figured," Russ said. "I'm not buying it. Just had to let you know it's on file. Can you send over the paperwork again?" "Already on it." I texted him Max's certification, vet records, and lease clause with the accommodation provision within 5 minutes. 2 hours later, he replied, "Got everything. Thanks. She's officially banned from the property. If she shows up again, call the cops immediately." I showed Max the text like he could read it. "Guess you're officially legal, buddy." He didn't care. Just munched hay like nothing in the world was wrong. The peace lasted less than a day. Next morning, I was walking back from the mailbox when a white county truck rolled up the drive. Big green seal on the side, Animal Control County of Oak Ridge. A middle-aged guy in aviators and a weather jacket stepped out. Looked more like a trucker than anything. "Morning," he said, friendly enough. "Let me guess," I said. "You're here about the world's most dangerous therapy horse?" He chuckled. "Yup. Gotta follow up when it's on record. Mind if I take a look? Come on back." I led him to the barn, where Max was standing calm as ever, tail swishing slow, head buried in a pile of fresh hay. "This the menace?" the guy asked. "Yep, real savage." He walked around the stall, eyeing Max for maybe 30 seconds. Max didn't even lift his head. "Y'all serious with this?" he muttered. I handed him a copy of the paperwork anyway. He skimmed it, nodded, then looked at me dead on. "We're marking this as a false report. Not the first one we've had from that name either." "She's been escalating," I said. "Facebook lies, forged documents, cops called, now this." "Well," he said, "she's walking into felony territory. Interfering with a service animal is no joke." He pulled a small sign from his bag, laminated, printed, official-looking, and handed it to me. "Certified therapy animal, do not disturb. County verified." "Seriously?" I asked. "Seriously." Staple it to his stall. Might slow her down. Or at least make the next officer laugh less. I stapled it to the front beam before he even made it back to the truck. As he pulled out, Max finally lifted his head like he was proud of himself. "You're famous now," I said. He flicked his ears and went right back to chewing. A week later, I got a manila envelope in the mail. No return address, just a typed label with my full name, bold and stiff. Inside was a lawsuit. Plaintiff, Leah Catherine James, alleging emotional distress, wrongful eviction, reputational damage. I read it twice, then threw it on the kitchen table and laughed so hard I startled Max through the open window. She really thought she could burn my life down and then sue me for lighting the match. I called my cousin Tara. She worked for a law office up in Springfield as a legal assistant and always knew someone who owed her a favor. After I explained the whole story, she didn't hesitate. "I'll send it over to Jim. He's semi-retired but loves tearing cases like this apart." Jim called me 2 days later. Cranky voice, fast talker. "Heard she dumped your therapy horse while you were burying your mom. That right?" "Yeah." "Good. I'll take it pro bono." "She wants court? Let's give her court." Her first court date wasn't for her civil suit. It was for her charges. The courtroom smelled like old wood and burnt coffee. Leah sat 2 rows up, wearing a baggy sweater like she was trying to look harmless. Her makeup was toned down, hair pulled back, no fake nails. Didn't work. The judge walked in, looked ex-military even in the robe, square jaw, buzz cut, no patience. After a few opening statements, he looked at her over his glasses. "You surrendered protected medical equipment during a funeral." She crossed her legs and gave a little sniff. "It was shedding and gross. I have severe allergies, and he knew that." The judge blinked once. "I'm a former firefighter. I've got PTSD. I have a therapy dog. He sheds. I still manage not to commit fraud." Dead silence. He turned to her lawyer. "Do you have anything that shows she was a legal tenant? Or had medical authority to act on the animal's behalf?" The guy fumbled with a folder, clearly scrambling. She was under emotional duress at the time, Your Honor. Not a legal defense." He looked back at Leah. "You lied. You falsified a surrender form for a federally protected animal. During a funeral." She tried to pout. "I just didn't think it would get this serious." "Exactly," he snapped. "You didn't think." The judgment came down hard and fast. 6 months probation, $2,000 fine, 80 hours of community service, assigned to a local equine therapy center. Restraining order, minimum 1 year, no contact with me or Max. Pending fraud charge, to be reviewed by the state AG's office. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, lips pressed tight, as her life started collapsing brick by brick. Outside the courthouse, Jim slapped me on the back. "This is just the beginning. She'll learn what consequences look like." I looked up at the courthouse steps. She wasn't there. She'd slipped out a side door like a coward. Didn't matter. The system had finally seen her for what she was. And it wasn't over yet. 3 days after court, I got a message from someone I barely knew. Kelsey, one of Leah's old work friends. "Heads up. HR just got the court documents." Someone forwarded the public record to the company inbox. "She's freaking out." I didn't ask who did it. Didn't care. It was public. Anybody could have sent it. Kelsey messaged again an hour later. They let her go. Misconduct. Zero tolerance. She's calling everyone fake now. Could have ended there. Didn't. 2 nights later, I got another message. This one from a girl named Taylor, used to be part of Leah's college friend group. Hey, I know we don't know each other, but I thought you should know. She told everyone you abused her. Claimed you locked her out to control her. People were donating to help her with rent. I stared at the screen for a minute. Rent? What rent? She didn't pay a dime the entire time she lived in my house. I replied, do you have receipts? She sent screenshots, posts, private messages Leah sent, even a Venmo link she used labeled, "Help me escape abuse." I forwarded every single thing to her old employer's HR department along with court documents and the signed stable surrender form. Next morning, I got a one-line email back from the HR manager. Thank you for this. We're referring her to state authorities for charity fraud. And just like that, Leah's little pity fund dried up. But she didn't stop. I found out she tried to get a new ESA letter from a therapist across town. One who hadn't seen the paperwork yet. Didn't work. They ran her name, saw the charges, saw the restraining order, and turned her away. She tried again the following week, different practice, used a slightly different spelling of her last name. Didn't work. That office reported her too. Automatic flag in their system now for anyone with a fraud case involving animals or medical equipment. Couple days later, I got a text from Tara. You're gonna want to see this. Attached was a screenshot from a National Rescue Network site. Leah C. James, listed banned. Reason: false surrender of certified therapy animal. Multiple violations. Not eligible for future adoptions. I showed it to Max. Look at that, bud. Guess the world's finally catching up. He flicked his ear, barely interested. Was too busy chewing on the lead rope he'd pulled into his stall again. She tried to paint herself as the victim, as the one abandoned, allergic, scared, whatever version fit the audience. But the receipts didn't lie. And now, the friends were gone. The job was gone. The therapists were reporting her. The donation well was dry. And that smug little mask she wore so well? Cracked wide open. Turns out, when you burn every bridge you cross, people stop building new ones for you. The courthouse was colder than last time. Same wood-paneled walls, same uncomfortable benches, but the tension felt thicker. She was already sitting at the plaintiff's table when we walked in. Baggy hoodie, no makeup, hair limp and greasy. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days, and judging by the shaking in her hands, maybe she hadn't. My attorney, Jim, gave me a look and leaned over. She's unraveling. Let's finish this. The judge came in, older guy with a tight frown and sharp glasses. Different from the criminal case, but carried the same don't bullshit me energy. Jim started off simple. Laid out the timeline clean and sharp. The funeral, the text, the forged surrender form, Max's federal certification, photos of him locked in that stall, statements from the stable staff, the police report. He had each piece labeled, dated, clipped, and color-coded. The man was surgical. Leah's lawyer didn't have much to say. Half his file looked like printouts from her Facebook page and a few screenshots with no timestamps. He tried to argue emotional distress on her part. The judge stopped him mid-sentence. "Let me get this straight," he said, flipping through the packet. She surrendered a federally protected therapy animal that didn't belong to her. Claimed he was aggressive. Told the stable the owner was being deployed. All on the day of that owner's mother's funeral. Leah finally spoke up, voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't think." The judge raised a hand. "Exactly. You didn't think about anyone but yourself." Silence. She wouldn't even lift her head. "I've seen some petty nonsense in civil court," he continued. "But this one's special." He turned to her lawyer. "You're lucky I'm not tossing sanctions on you for bringing this to trial." Then he looked at me. "Mr. Hayes, your counterclaim for damages is approved." He read the numbers out loud, clear and direct. $1,500 for Max's value and replacement cost. $4,000 in emotional distress. $3,000 in punitive damages, plus all legal fees. Case dismissed. With prejudice. Leah looked up then, like she didn't understand what she just heard. With prejudice means you don't get a do-over, the judge said. You're done. Jim packed up the paperwork calmly, like he'd already known this was the outcome. Outside, I asked, "You think I'll ever see a dime of that?" He shrugged. "They'll garnish her wages. Might take a few years, or decades." I nodded. "Doesn't matter. It was never about the money." She came out a few minutes later, saw us on the sidewalk, and froze. Didn't say a word. Just turned the other way and walked down the street with her hood up and head low. There were no cameras, no one clapping, just wind, concrete, and a long overdue ending. I watched her disappear around the corner, and I swear, right then, something finally clicked into place. Not victory, not pride, just quiet, peace. It's been 6 weeks. Max and I moved to a new place. 3 acres outside of town, fenced pasture, small red barn, and no neighbors within screaming distance. His stall's bigger, cleaner, and full of fresh hay that doesn't smell like damp plywood and regret. He settled in quick. First day here, he rolled in the grass like a puppy, then stood up and bolted around the pasture like he'd been stuck in a cage his whole life. Every morning now, I find him standing at the gate, waiting for me before I even get my boots on. I used the settlement to cover the deposit and get him new gear, custom bridle, better saddle, winter blankets. Felt right. Felt like paying him back. We go to the cemetery on Sundays. I sit beside Mom's grave. He stands a few feet away, quiet and still, like he knows why we're there. He never pulls the lead, never fidgets. He just watches the trees and stays close. Some things don't need explaining. Leah, last I heard, she was working part-time at a Burger King off Route 9, living back with her mom, still trying to spin her story like she's the one who got burned. But the internet doesn't forget. You Google her name, first thing that pops up, local woman tried to dispose of therapy horse during boyfriend's funeral. No one's buying the allergies excuse anymore. A couple weeks ago, her ex from 2 years before me found my post. Messaged me out of the blue. "She did the same thing to my dog," he wrote. "Told the shelter he bit her. I found out a week later after they put him down. I'm pressing charges." I didn't reply, just sat there holding the phone. Max was in the stall behind me, chewing on a carrot. I turned around, and he stopped, ears forward like he was listening. He still flinched when a truck backfired or a screen door slammed too hard, but he followed me everywhere, trusted me, stuck to my side like a shadow. To anyone reading this, trust your gut, and never let someone treat your animals like trash. Max isn't just a horse. He's not a pet, not a burden, not some muddy beast you can toss away for convenience. He's family, always was, always will be.